Well, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Ethereum today at the request of Pat Benter. I think it's Bentar. Pat, we're talking about this one for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, you guys. Thank you all for being here. Looking at this on the weekly time frame, let's just get started. You know, it does look like you've rejected your overbought zone. It's not a good look ideally, but looking at the overall fib for Ethereum, this is a very productive, a very powerful weekly structure that you're in, right? You've got these higher lows, you've got these higher highs. Just because you've rejected the overbought zone does not mean I think you're going to oblivion, but I do think that you could stand to go lower. However, to be completely fair, you could hold this 60 area for support, an area that you held as resistance before. You could hold it as support here and then move up. That would imply that potentially this week you could start moving up. Maybe. Last week you did actually have somewhat of a bullish reaction. That's a pretty big wick, but let's look at the daily time frames. I know, Pat, you were asking where could I see the prices dropping to after the ETFs are listed. Let me give some context for those of you that don't know. So the ETFs got approved, right? The ETFs, not ETF, plural. There's several ETFs that have gotten approved for listing, or maybe they've just gotten approved. I don't know if they've gotten approved for listing yet, but they've been approved, and they've got to work things out. They will be listed later. Maybe they've gotten approved for listing. I don't know. If you were approved for listing and you wanted to list it, why wouldn't you just list it? But the Ethereum ETFs are not listed yet. They're approved, but they're not listed. I made a prediction, a call, that when they are listed, we will see the price drop. We've seen Ethereum get approved for its ETFs, but not listed, and everyone's calling this a sell the news event. And so far, you know, it looks somewhat like that, but I think this is a fake out. I think this is a psych, and we're going to pump going into the listing. And then once the ETFs are listed for Ethereum, that's when we'll get a dump. And that dump might be severe. It might be more severe than this, but perhaps it takes us to prices that are even higher than we are now, right? It might be a higher low, inevitably. So your question, Pat, was where do I see the price falling to when the ETFs are listed? And this is all based off the assumption that the Bloomberg analysts are making, saying that the ETFs will be listed sometime in July. There's no conclusive evidence of this. This is just like hearsay, right? But assuming that the ETFs for Ethereum are listed in July, and I'll go back over the more immediate analysis in a second, you know, that gives us some time to move up. If we were to move up, you know, potentially by the time the ETFs are listed, you know, maybe sometime in July we're at $4,500. Maybe we're just above 4,000, whatever. But I would assume that if they were listed, you know, that we were around something like this, if not at least above 4K. Perhaps we dump back literally to like the current prices or higher, right? I would think that after the ETFs are listed, and this is kind of nice, right? Think about what that means, right? So if you're not certain if you want to buy Ethereum right now and it takes off without you, wait for those ETF listings to come back. It might not go as low as this, but it might go lower nonetheless, and you're at a less risky place to buy. Like you would still have a second chance. You don't need to chase the pump to get in at a relatively good price, right? Like this might seem like a good price if we pumped from here, but this is the better price, right? This in reference to this doesn't seem like a good price anymore. It's the same thing here, right? It's still a good price. It just might not seem as good of a price as it is here, but the reason why some people might not buy here is because they might think we're going lower, and perhaps we do, perhaps we don't. You know, time will tell. But even if you don't buy here and the price pumps, all I'm saying is you'll still have a chance at redemption to buy at lower prices. So how low will it go is a hard question to answer, Pat. After the ETFs are listed, it's hard to answer that because we don't know how high. We don't know where we're going to be until we're there. We don't know where the price is going to be. So I can't really accurately guess, but my best estimate would be either somewhere around the current price, around $3,600, if not around $4,100, somewhere in between there. That's my best guess. And I suppose let's broaden it a little bit more. Let's say 4,100 to 3,500. That's my best guess. I don't think that we're going to go lower than this low. I don't think it's going to be some kind of mega crash, doom, right? It'll just be a little bit of consolidation. And looking at this right here for what it is, right, from high to low, essentially, if you were all the way up at your 1618, literally that put you back at the same price. So that fits the range that we're talking about, right? Seeing a pretty dramatic dump. It's not too dramatic. It's not like bear market status, but it's a lot more dramatic than what we've seen over the past month or so now. A little bit less than a month, but anyways, let's look at the daily stuff. I hope that didn't scare people away. All that, maybe it does this, maybe it does that. I know that scares some of you away. You get so scared you feel like you need to comment and say, you can't pick a direction. It's like, no, I can't. I kind of do, actually. Every single video I do pick a direction, but it's always a maybe, because I'm not pompous enough to just be like, it is for sure, no denying, gonna go up. Nobody knows, man. The TA, everything in the charts can suggest that the price is going up, but that's it. It's just a suggestion. It's a statistical probability, possibility. That does not mean it's a certainty. None of this is a certainty. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Even the insiders, nobody knows where the price is going today, tomorrow, the next week, right? We just assume. And we know when it happens. That's the best that we got. But anyways, looking at the daily RSI, potential rejection off the 50 would not look good. Let's see how today closes. You have 18 hours and 46 minutes left. If today closes red, you would get that rejection off the 50, and that would not be a good look. However, you've been time and time again holding above your oversold zone, which is that's a testament of strength, man. Like you're down here below the 50 a lot. That's not a good look, but you just won't get oversold. That's a really good look. You got overbought after you struggled so hard to get oversold, but you just couldn't do it. But you get overbought, no problem, but you got a problem with being oversold this whole time. So that's a really good look for Ethereum in itself. That does give me hope that even if you do go lower from the daily RSI perspective, that you might not go lower than this price, right? You might actually hold this area between about 34.70 to 33.70 as support. So that's a nice look. But if you can close today green, you will not only omit this rejection off the 50 area, you'd actually break through it and you'd see a little bit. That doesn't mean that you're omitted from going lower, right? You absolutely can. We've seen it, but it would just be a better look than rejecting right off of here. If we look at the relative high to the relative low, we are actually, you're looking really good, man, on this fib. I'm not gonna lie, I like this a lot. Yeah, double bottom, breaking above your 382, potentially finding support on it. Hey, man, hey. 4-hour RSI is looking good, dude. This is a good look. I'm kind of optimistic for Ethereum, and here's why. Beyond just what I've just showed you there, whether that stands out to you or not, let me paint you a picture. So again, back what I was saying earlier, ETFs got approved. Everybody's saying it's a sell the news event. They took their shorts out like the day, I think it was, when was it approved? I just have this posted. I don't own any XYO. I'm not shilling it. I was just checking it. It might do well. It might not. No hate to it, but that's not the point of this. I'm just going to change the browser here, or not the browser, the website. What was I doing, man? ETF approval date. When did that happen? Is there a way to get that? I forget when it was. Maybe I can just ask, when was ETF approval date? May 23rd. Okay, there we go. May 23rd. Which would have been this day actually right here. Okay, so this is when it got approved. Think about all the people who said to go short here, and they're right now, right? They are right. But the thing is, if you've ever margin traded and you've taken out a short, right, this is a long amount of time to be in a position, right? You're getting fees depends on how the exchange does it, but some of these things, they take fees out every 10 minutes, every hour, every day, right, depending on how it is. And of course, the ones that take fees out every 10 minutes, they're very small fees. The ones that take fees out every hour, they're larger than that, right? But at any rate, over all this time, finally it took you, technically it would have taken you at least 2 weeks to get maybe a little bit out of that. Maybe that was a Wix, like really not much at all, but it would have taken you, I guess, at least close to 3 weeks to have any kind of resolve in this. You guys, a lot of people, even if they caught this at the right moment for a short, they wasted a lot of their gains on fees itself. So all these people who shorted, if they held for the actual short, unless you shorted right here and you cashed out right here and you played it perfectly, and I'm sure there are people who did, there probably are, but most people probably took this moment from May 23rd and onward as a moment of sell the news event. That's the whole narrative. They're thinking it's a sell the news event. This is all you got. A higher low off of your 123 moving average, a very significant level, especially on the daily. From a high point to a low point, you dropped 15%, which, hey, on a 5x leverage, on even a 3x leverage, that's nice gains in a very short amount of time. But when did you execute it? I would assume most people executed even before the ETFs were approved, right? People probably were expecting the ETFs would get denied or whatever, even if they got approved or they were assuming it would get approved, and this was before the day of it being approved, they're anticipating some kind of sell the news event. This whole area, there's probably a lot of shorts that they didn't really get to reap the benefits because they're paying off all these fees, right? And maybe some of them even got liquidated here, the higher leveraged ones, before you started to move down. I'm guessing, I'm assuming here, but all I'm trying to say is this sell the news event is pretty anticlimactic in comparison to what was not a sell the news event over here, right? And I think that people are reading this wrong. I don't think that this is a sell the news event. I think this was a bit of a bear trap. We're going to go up. The sell the news event is not when the ETFs got approved, just like it wasn't a sell the news event for Bitcoin when they got approved. It was a sell the news event for Bitcoin when the ETFs were listed. Literally the day they were listed, it pumped briefly and then dumped, right? And that it didn't dump dramatic, but it still dumped, right? It wasn't like world shattering, right? It was January 11th. I'll never forget. January 11th. It was this day right here. Again, you pumped and then you dumped. 7.7% in a day overall, more than that, of course, but it's not dramatic at all, right? That's kind of comparable, actually, to what we've got going on now with Ethereum. A little bit less drawn out, but still. All I'm trying to say, guys, all this jibber jabber to say, I actually theorize that we're going to pump into the listing date, right? And that's what Pat was asking, because he knows. I think you assume the same thing I'm assuming, right? Is that you're not going to get this sell the news event, the real sell. This was not the real. It's going to be bigger than this. Might be something more like this. Maybe it's somewhere in between. Who knows, right? Maybe it's really quick and then it's over. Who knows how it happens? But you're not going to get that sell the news event until the listing date itself, which at a minimum is expected to happen in July. So says the Bloomberg insider analyst. 1 second, guys. I got to take care of my daughter. She just cried. Oh, she might be asleep. I think we're good. We're going to play it out. I might have to go, but we'll see. At a minimum, July, right? So, and that's what they say. It might not even. It's nothing concrete. It's hearsay, but that's a lot of time to grow, right? Like this right here. This is the end of the first week in July. You could absolutely see. Like at that rate of growth, is this a possible rate of growth? Well, let's see. Let's put it back over here. Yes, it's a very possible rate of growth. By the time the ETFs are listed, you could be at new all-time highs, man. Like literally. So, and that'll throw off a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of people are convinced right now it's a sell the news event to get in it, but they're late to the party. People that did it on time have been exaggerated and exacerbated on their fees. I think did I use that word right? Let's see. Exacerbate. I didn't spell it right, but to make a problem. Okay, I did not to make a problem worse. That's not what I meant. No, I'm exacerbating right now. I'm making the words worse. No, but they've dwindled. They've wasted their resources because they were holding these shorts for such a long amount of time that the fees basically took away most, if not a good portion of the profits that they could have had. So even the people who timed this as a sell the news event, unless you did it perfectly, they probably didn't cash out that much, and they might still be in their shorts, anticipating that they deserve more money because they're shorting the sell the news event and then going lower. I'm just speaking from the perspective of a trader who's been in this position before. When you expect things to go one way and then it doesn't happen. I'm not saying everybody's going to do it the same way. There are people who have better risk management and who know when to cut their losses, of course, but there are more people out there who are inexperienced. I'm talking about myself from the perspective of someone who is inexperienced. I'm not inexperienced now. I've been doing technical analysis for over 7 years, right? But just early day stuff. And that's another thing, right? A lot of people might assume early day people might assume this is a sell the news event when it's not. This is not, the approval is not the sell the news event, it's the listing. That's whenever it's available. They've got all their Ethereum that they need for their ETFs. They've got everything figured out. Please, nobody hit me in the comments saying you can't own the underlying asset for an ETF, because somebody said that one time, and they had a bunch of people saying, oh my god, so he was like commenting and saying like he was wrong, or how do you know this, like what do I find out? And it's like, if anybody says that you can't own the underlying asset in the United States before listing the ETF, they're wrong. You absolutely can. You don't have to. You do not have to own the underlying asset to have an ETF. I don't know if that's in all cases, but there are certain cases where that's true, if not in all cases. But I would assume that out of all the institutions who are offering ETFs for Ethereum, the ones that will do the best will probably hold the biggest Ethereum bags, right? So when they've had their fill, that's when the ETFs are going to get listed. And that's when they're going to dump it on you, the people trying to buy them, right? So that kind of listing event will halt ETFs. If the ETFs get listed, when they get listed, that will halt buying on the institutional standpoint, because they've probably, once they've listed it, they've got all that they need to sell it to you guys. They'll probably continue to list or accumulate, of course, but that might be at a lesser pace than it is now. I hope that's all making sense. I think the listing date will be a sell the news event. It's not here, it will be there. That's the best that I got. All in all, to say Ethereum actually doesn't look half bad right now. If it goes lower, perhaps it goes, a little bit below 3,500. You're at 3,585 now, but I don't think you go below that low. I actually think you hold that low, and you're more likely, in my opinion, to break 5K from this price than you are to break 3,300. But time will tell. I can be wrong. I've been wrong before. I will be wrong again. But at a minimum, I would at least expect that you go up to this 61869 zone with how you've acted on this fib so far. I would at least expect that 3,700, 3,780, whatever, before moving lower. You could move down to your 236 first and then move up. That's possible too. But being above your 382 like this, I can't help but think that your next target is 3,700 and above. And then once you break above that 618, that golden ratio, we're looking at extensions. And those extensions, if we just draw a line, again, in comparison to what you saw in this last move here, and that's at the top of the move. Let's just start at the base, right? Something like that. At that rate of growth, more or less, it's a rough drawing. It's not perfect. From this low to that point, sometime by the end of this month, you could be at new all-time highs. Or that's not new all-time highs, I'm sorry. Still, around 4,400, about $1,000 higher than you are now. By the end of this month, it could happen. So, I don't know. I do think Ethereum's moving up, all that to say, and I don't think that this was the sell the news event. I think that the listing will be the real sell the news event. So hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.